Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're here with us. Now, if you're a focused learner who absolutely loves unpacking how we acquire foundational knowledge, well, you are in for a serious treat today. We're going to be looking at this brilliant piece of educational design from Chapter 5 of an early childhood math curriculum. It's called Playing with Lines. And what this chapter does is it takes the incredibly abstract world of geometry and makes it, well, remarkably tangible.
It all kicks off with a really fundamental pedagogical challenge. I mean, think about it for a second. How exactly do you teach formal geometry? Concepts like verticality, horizontality, angles, to young kids who might actually still be trying to figure out how to spell their own names. You can't exactly just hand them a protractor and a list of textbook definitions, right? You need a real, solid bridge between their physical reality and these totally abstract math concepts.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the chapter's solution is just ingenious. It completely bypasses the chalkboard at first and goes straight into whole-body movement through Ashtanga yoga poses. Seriously, instead of drawing lines on paper, the kids are actually asked to literally become the lines themselves.
Which brings us to Section 1, Math through Body Movement.
So first up, we have what the chapter calls a standing line. Now, this is the formal geometric equivalent of a vertical line. But notice the brilliance of the association going on here. By bridging a child's everyday lived experience, just the simple act of standing, to the formal term, that abstract idea suddenly becomes totally concrete. A vertical line is really just a straight up and down line, exactly like a person standing up as tall as they can.
Next, we have the sleeping line. And again, this is just a perfect cognitive anchor. A horizontal line is simply a straight side-to-side line. It's flat, like someone resting on the floor. In a kid's mind, the word sleeping perfectly captures that orientation and that groundedness of a horizontal axis. It's one of those vocabulary translations that just works instantly.
Now, let's look a bit closer at our yoga practitioners here. Check out the kid doing the backbend on the left. The curve of his spine perfectly illustrates, well, a curved line. And then cast your eyes over to the center, the girl doing the triangle pose. You can map out the strict angled descent of her arms and legs. And boom, that introduces the slanting line. They're literally learning angles through their own limbs. How cool is that?
Moving right along to Section 2, the Simple Thread Test.
So, moving from gross motor skills to actual manual manipulation, we get this brilliant side-by-side comparison. On the left, we see a child holding a piece of string pulled taut. On the right, they've brought their hands closer together and the string sags. And this brilliantly illustrates our next core concept.
What's happening here is a super powerful kinesthetic cause and effect. The child can literally feel the tension of the straight line right there in their hands. The whole idea of straightness is no longer just something visual. It's a physical resistance felt right in their fingers. And the second they relax that tension, the line curves. They are in complete control of the geometry.
Then, the curriculum adds this crucial little variation. Look at the boy holding the thread at a slanted angle. The tension is still there, right? The string is still pulled totally tight. And this visually anchors the viewer to a pretty critical mathematical truth. A straight line can exist at absolutely any angle.
Which leads us directly to this exact quote from the text, standing, sleeping, slanting lines are straight lines. Now that might sound simple to us, but it is a major cognitive leap for a young learner. They're realizing that orientation doesn't change the core property of straightness. A slanted line isn't just a broken vertical line. It's just a straight line going on a different journey.
Now we're into Section 3, Spotting Lines at Play.
So, with those physical concepts completely locked in, it is time for some environmental observation. Take a look at this beautifully illustrated, really vibrant playground scene. I mean, at first glance, it's just a park, right? But the curriculum asks the child to put on their geometry detective hat and look at this seemingly ordinary place through a brand new lens.
For instance, check out the swing set on the far left. Notice those vertical poles holding the whole thing up? Yep, those are our standing lines, just hiding in plain sight. They're what provide the structural integrity for the entire swing.
Now guide your attention slightly over to the right, to the playground slide. See that long line running all the way down the metal chute? That right there is a perfect real-world example of a slanting line. Honestly, the slant is exactly what makes the slide fun in the first place.
And right down there at the bottom center, check out that blue climbing frame. The semicircle shape of its rungs really reinforces the concept of curved lines.
By going through this exercise, kids start to realize that math isn't just, some boring thing trapped in a textbook. It's literally the invisible scaffolding of the world they play in every single day.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Making Lines from Creases. Now it's time for some fine motor creation. The curriculum introduces this great little project called Fun with Folding. The steps are super simple. You fold a piece of paper in half, keep folding it a few more times, and then unfold it to observe the whole network of creases you just left behind. A physical crease acts as this permanent, tactile straight line that the child themselves has just manufactured.
But they don't stop there. The activity then asks them to trace the straight vertical and horizontal lines they've made using a red crayon. This color-coding step, absolutely vital. It forces the child to actively categorize the abstract concepts they literally just built with their own two hands.
Then, they trace the slanting lines with a blue crayon. So, the crucial point is this. They are visually and physically separating the different orientations of straight lines. Red for standing and sleeping, blue for slanting. Actually, it's pretty brilliant, because that physical categorization completely cements the mental categorization.
And then, out of nowhere, the chapter throws in this wonderful, kind of tricky little prompt, try to make curved lines by paper folding. I absolutely love this. It's a challenge that actively encourages critical thinking and problem solving. Like, can you fold a smooth curve? Try it. It forces the kid to experiment with the physical limitations of the paper and quickly realize exactly why folding naturally lends itself to straight geometry rather than curved.
When we zoom out and look at the chapter as a whole, the pedagogical flow is, well, it's nothing short of brilliant. Think about this experiential learning arc. It starts with stretching your whole body to feel a line, moves to pulling a string with your hands to create a line, shifts to spotting lines out in your environment, and finishes up with folding paper to permanently press a line right into existence. It is, without a doubt, a total masterclass in kinesthetic learning. It really makes you realize just how deeply embedded geometry is in our everyday physical experience. Which leaves me with a question for you to take away. Take a second. Just look around the room you're sitting in right now. What invisible, standing, sleeping, and slanting lines are shaping your world? I guarantee, once you start looking, you can literally never stop seeing them. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. And hey, keep exploring.